Hymenaeus and Alexander are not role models. Duh. Well, and we talked about the whole. So what was the deal with these guys? Well, we don't know, except that Paul said, I turn them over to Satan to be taught not to blaspheme. In other words, somehow, when the consequences of joining, whether they meant to or not, whether they intentionally said, no, we're going to switch sides, but Paul turned them over to Satan so that they would learn to be taught not to blaspheme. So that we talked about that. There's somebody with a deeper theological well than I have could say more meaningful things about that, but what we got to go back now to verse 16, because there's I kind of think of it as a dangling participial out here. Timothy, my son, I'm giving you this command. What command? Well, he goes on to say, I'm giving you this command in keeping with the prophecies once made about you, so that recalling them, you may fight the battle well, holding on to faith and a good conscience, which some have rejected and so have shipwrecked their faith. Well, what's the command? Okay, that is a little bit like a preacher who would say, I'm going to tell you this, and then they don't quite exactly tell you what you thought they had promised to tell. What is the command? I'm giving you this command in keeping with prophecies once made about you, so that by recalling them, I think there's possibility that the command Paul talks about here for Timothy is to recall. Call to your mind what your mission is. Call to your mind these prophecies that were spoken about you, these words that were spoken over you, and these were, we don't even know what the prophecies were. Did you ever think about that? We've thought about that before, but here's an important thing. Paul was saying, reflect on what your mission is. Reflect on your purpose. Reflect on, call to memory. Recall them. Most people don't know what their mission in life is. For most Americans, I'm convinced that most Americans believe their mission in life is to be happy. I see it all the time in social media. Some of these really lame posts, and if you've posted it as a friend of mine, then this is going to be offensive. They stuff like, well, I'm done with all the drama in life. All I want is to be at peace and to be happy. Sorry. You got to live in Disneyland to do that. And by the way, you don't. Okay? You live in a real world that is populated with imperfect people, with conflicting goals, with disappointments, with natural disasters, with evil people, as well as good people. Drama is going to be part of your life. Now, what you do about the drama, we can talk about that. That's valid, okay? That's a worthy thing to think about and talk about. But your mission is not to eliminate drama out of your life. You can't. You can deny it. You can pretend it doesn't exist. You can try to, skirt around it. You're not going to be very successful, because here's one of the difficult facts about life. you carry a bag full of drama wherever you go. You got your own drama. And oh, by the way, wherever you go, there you are. And if you're there, guess what is also there? Your drama. Okay. I'm poking and throwing rocks and stuff, and so what's the antidote? What are you supposed to do? And okay, if it's not about me being happy, what's it supposed to be about? That's a legitimate challenge. Now, Timothy had an advantage that I didn't have. Anyway, let me just say it this way. I didn't have the advantage he had in the way he had it. Somehow, somewhere along the line, and it was before Paul writes this to Timothy. We don't know when. It could have been, in Lystra and Iconium. And by the way, those were the cities where Paul encountered some very difficult trials, including being stoned and left for dead, which my thought is I don't think Timothy would have been unaware of that. I think Timothy would have either witnessed it, seen it, been around it, or had been told about it, So, okay, it could have been after that. We don't even know when Timothy actually said yes to Jesus, was converted. Anyway, sometime before Paul wrote this, it could have actually even have been when Paul commissioned him to take up the mantle of leadership in the Ephesian church. I don't know. And in a way, doesn't matter. If it mattered, we'd be able to figure it out. We would have some record of it. But what does matter is that prophecies were spoken about Timothy. And these prophecies, they were not about, Timothy, you're going to have a great career. Way to go. I don't believe. I think these would have been specific prophecies about his capabilities, about his wiring, about his spirit, about his mind and heart. They would have been, that was the nature of these New Testament prophecies. In a way, they projected the pathway for Timothy's life as an adult, as a pastor and leader. Golly, I wish we knew exactly what they were. Because I believe they would have set his mission. Now, on another level, he already knew what his mission was. Because Jesus had spoken a mission to every follower, every Christian, every disciple, every apprentice. This is not news to you. We've talked about it before. At first, when Jesus was asked, right, what's the most important commandment of all? And one of the ways you could maybe rephrase that is, okay, the commandments tell us what our mission is. Or they at least tell us what we're supposed to do towards some mission. Well, Jesus said, here's the greatest command of all is love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And then he throws in a bonus. And the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. So, all right, if you were going to extrapolate, what does that tell me about my mission? Well, what are the two verbs there that connect are love? It's the same verb twice. Love God. Love my neighbor. And then, just before the hurricane of Jesus' night after the Passover meal, he says to his disciples, I am giving you a new command, that you love one another as I have loved you. In a way, is that not the mission statement of every believer, of every follower of Christ, to love other people the way Jesus loved people? Okay, let's even get more specific. When after Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection, and he spent days after appearing to people and interacting with people, and then he was taken up to heaven. He ascended. Before he ascended, in Matthew's gospel, what we have is the last chapter, 28, in verse 19 and 20, Jesus said, all authority has been given to me on heaven and on earth. Go, therefore, because of my authority, go and make disciples, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to observe all the commands that I have given you. Well, there you go. That's something between a mission statement and a job description. How will we do that? Just a little quick bunny trail. It's possible to translate that where Jesus, Matthew has, our translations of Matthew say, go therefore, or because of my authority, go and make disciples. Well, it's possible to translate that as you go, make disciples. And what I get from that, I know I'm on a soapbox. This is a hobby horse, but I'm going to ride it, okay? Just so you know. As you go, wherever your life takes you, make disciples. I think that's my mission, is to make disciples. How do I do that? Well, Jesus said you baptize them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, and you teach them to observe all the things that Jesus taught. My job, my mission, is to do what I can to help people connect to God's design and live from that design, to live according to that design, to live motivated to do these things by love. All right, I could, I could go for another 30 minutes on that, but I think here's the point I want to make. People on a mission are the people that make a difference in the world. You see, when Paul tells Timothy to recall, reflect on, remember the prophecies spoken about him, I think, again, he's saying, Timothy, stay on mission. And a whole lot of what is now we're going to walk into from here in the books of 1st and 2nd Timothy have to do with what does that look like? What does it look like to stay on mission? And part of what Paul writes about tells us about things that will naturally make their best attempt to draw us off mission. See, think about this. One way of explaining what happened to Hymenaeus and Alexander is that they lost track of the actual mission. They didn't stay on mission. This is easy. That is not a hard thing, and it's not a surprising thing to happen. We have to consciously endeavor. We have to make effort to redirect ourselves to the mission. Especially in a world like what we live in, a world of ADD. There's about a million things trying to get my attention. And the technology that's at our disposal makes it so much harder to not get distracted. My challenge for you today is to consider, what is your mission? And what does it look like for you to stay on mission? All right. Believe it or not, we start chapter 2 next time. I'll see you then on Soul Care with Stevie Boy.